Welcome to Shul.com. We are learning the laws of Shabbat by Rabbi Yonatan Nachsin. We're up to Keriat Hatorah, reading the Torah on Shabbat, and we'll see even he'll have some points for during the week as well. The obligation. The Torah may only be read with the berachot in the presence of 10 Jewish men above the age of bar mitzvah, at least 6 of whom have not yet heard the Keriat Hatorah that day. Okay. Now he has a note here on the bottom. He brings down from Halacha B'Rav, volume 7, page 225. Okay. The obligation of reading the Torah with the minyan is a rabbinically established communal obligation, not a personal obligation. And he brings down Yabia Omer, and he brings Hazon Avadja. So it's something that's dependent on the entire Sibur, not on the person. Women are not obligated in listening to Keriat Torah. So a lot of times when you have the women that they say they want to come to shul by Keriat Torah, want to make it, it's nice, beautiful, it's a great custom, but there's no requirement. They don't have to come to shul at all, mind you. But if, for this, yes. So they have that. On Shabbat, a minimum of 7 people are called to the Torah to recite the berachot upon the Torah, known as an aliyah. Aliyah meaning going up. Additional aliyot can be read to honor more people. However, one must read a minimum of 3 pesukim per aliyah. We'll have some discussion on this. So usually they have 7 aliyot. You'll have 7, then they'll have kaddish, and then you'll do a maftir. The maftir can be read by even someone that's below bar mitzvah, not at any age, but below bar mitzvah. And if they want to add aliyot, the minimum of the pesukim have to be 3. And they call like these mosifim, the additional aliyot. Although it is permitted to read the same pesukim again, like you do on Simchat Torah, when they give everyone the aliyah, they keep reading the same one over. It is preferable to read at least 3 new pesukim instead for each added aliyah that they want to add. So this, I guess you'll do it short in the aliyot. Once one has finished the parasha and recited kaddish, no more aliyot may be added. So if for whatever reason they ended up having multiple aliyot and one of them said kaddish, that's it. There's no more that can go up. 77, let's see here, he brings down, his source here is on Halacha B'Rav. He also brings down from Hazon Avadja, who states that one should not add extra aliyot if there's no particular need. So Chacham Avadja Yosef was recommending that usually on Shabbat, don't add extra aliyot. It makes a real tircha on the tzibur to add it. So keep it to what's required. Just as a side note, on Yom Tov, we read 5 aliyot. And one of the reasons why we read less on Yom Tov is that the Chachamim wanted people to go home early. It's just funny because sometimes on Yom Tov, they end up adding more aliyot, sometimes even than on Shabbat. Shabbat they had 7, now on Yom Tov they add, 3, 4 extra aliyot. Ends up sometimes being more. It ends up defeating even the purpose of why the Chachamim did it. On Shabbat day, if one only read 2 pesukim for the aliyah, he should do as follows. If he already finished reciting the after beracha of the aliyah, then another person should be called up and he should recite a new aliyah, reread the aliyah with a minimum of 3 pesukim. So let's say someone got an aliyah and by mistake they didn't know where to stop and they thought the guy read 3 pesukim, but he only read 2 and he already finished the beracha. What would he do? They're going to put another aliyah that comes up where they'll read a minimum of 3 pesukim. However, if this happened during mincha, then the same person should reread the aliyah on Shabbat, mincha. If it happened at that time, where he only read 2 pesukim, he himself would go reread the aliyah and have 3 pesukim on it. You think. No, the one who went up. You think to yourself, like, when would this ever happen? Like, this is so awkward. It's not. I'll tell you why it isn't. A lot of times they do these house minyanim on Shabbat for mincha, and sometimes it's not always a somech, and there's sometimes a Baal Koreh who didn't really practice, and sometimes he stopped in a place where he thought it was the end of the pasuk, and now next thing you know, no Levi. The whole thing's come up. They have Yisrael going for Kohen and Yisrael for Levi, Israel for Yisrael. The whole thing, and it happens. And so he's telling you what would be the case there. If he has not yet recited the last beracha on the aliyah, and they only read 2 pesukim, even if he had already closed the Sefer Torah, he should reopen the Torah and recite at least one more pasuk, and then he may recite the beracha. So all he's saying here is that if he ended the aliyah and he closed the Sefer Torah, he can reopen it to do it. There is no particular obligation to stop an aliyah at the stopping points that are printed in most chumashim. However, one must read a minimum of 3 pesukim per aliyah. Some communities split up the aliyot in a way that the aliyah will usually end off and begin in a positive way. He brings here multiple sources: Ramah, Chayei Adam, the David Emet, that's the Chida, Rav Pe'alim, Torah Dishma, and Halacha Berura, and Shivat Zion, and also Otzar, Pelaot HaTorah, and Bamidbar. So he brought.
Chida says so?
Yeah, as well. That you can stop in any place, but you should stop in a positive way. That's one of the sources for that. That you should end it. You see that a lot with the Hachamim. Yeah, like the last word of the pasuk is something positive as opposed to a negative. And I mean, look here in the Syrian community, they're very strict on ending in certain spots. But as the Syrian community is becoming more yeshiva style, they're changing. They're changing it, and not that the custom is changing, is that there wasn't never really a custom. The custom was just what was in the Siddur, and the Siddur wasn't always so accurate. Some of them were not always printed by Chachamim; they were printed by printers, and so. When there is a double parasha, such as Vayekel Pekudeh or Matot Mas'eh, it is customary that the 4th aliyah is the aliyah that bridges both parashiot. However, if one did not do so, the congregation still has fulfilled their obligation. So just know, whenever you have 2 parashiot, 4th aliyah will be the connector between the two. It's very easy to remember. Kohen Levi Israel, Revi'i will be the connector to the next parasha. If a pasuk was skipped on Shabbat, I've seen this happen more than one time, because sometimes when you're following along, if a pasuk was skipped on Shabbat, one must go back and read the pasuk that was skipped along with another 2 pesukim that follow the pasuk with the berachot upon the Torah and barichu. Meaning, if they skip the pasuk, you do the full aliyah to go back up there and read 3 pesukim. One must go back even after the Torah has been put away and Musaf has already been prayed. However, once the congregation has already gone home, one does not go back and read the skipped pasuk. So it's until the end of Musaf and people going home. But let's say for whatever reason, I don't know, I saw this happen one time with a Haftarah. With someone got the Haftarah, he read it, and he missed the last bit. That's the Haftarah, so it was a little different. But in regards to the pasuk in the Torah, they make that mistake. They got to bring it back out. Reading the parasha, the Baal Koreh should review the parasha several times before reading it on behalf of the congregation. I was taught and heard that you should at least 3 times. You should read it not with your eyes. Read it so your ears can hear it, and then you'll have a familiarity to it. One who is not properly prepared should not be the Baal Koreh, since doing so without preparing is not only a lack of respect to the congregation, but is also not respectful to the Torah, as written on the Shulchan Aruch 139.1, and he brings Torah Lishma and Aruch HaShulchan and Halacha Berura. It is customary in many communities that a person stands next to the Torah aside from the Baal Koreh and the person who receives Aliyah. They call him the Somech, the guy that's on the left side. So 3 people are at the Torah. The Kaf HaHayim 141-22 in the name of the Petach Devir. The Halacha Berura, who states that some have the custom that the 3rd person stands on the right side of the bima, and some have the custom that he stands to the left side of the bima. Interesting. So Cham David Yosef is saying that that's interesting. I've only seen it on the left. My whole life. I have never seen it on the right. Maybe amongst Ashkenazim. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I haven't seen it.
It's very possible.
It's interesting. Ideally, a Sfaradi should listen to the parasha read with a Sephardic pronunciation, cantillation, and preferably a Sephardic Sefer Torah. If one did not, though he has nevertheless fulfilled his obligation. One should especially try to have a Sephardic reading on the weeks of Parashat Zachor and Parashat Parah, which are more obligatory from the Torah for men. Some say women as well, but so, yes. Now, so let's look at it's just the sources here. The source here is Chazon Avadja, Chama Avadja, Yalkut Yosef, Rav Yitzchak Zef, which discusses this at length, and Or Letzion. This is also the opinion of Rabbi Yosef Shalom Eliashiv, as brought in Ashrei Ha'ish, who states that a Sephardi may fulfill his obligation through an Ashkenazi or Ashkenazic recitation, and vice versa. This is also the view of Teshuvot veHanhagot, Mu'adim Uzmanim, Stam, Kehilchatam, and Halichot Shelamo and Tefillah. So he brings, regarding using an Ashkenazic Sefer Torah, see Shevet HaLevi, Nigrot Moshe, and Tzitz Eliezer, and Mu'adim Uzmanim. So he brings you a bunch of sources here on it. So you should preferably have these three things, which is Sephardic pronunciation, cantillation, and Sephardic Sefer Torah 3. But if for whatever reason you're an Ashkenaz Minyan, you heard it, or you're amongst Yemenite, Chabad, then you would still be okay. Strictly speaking, Sephardi may use a Timani Sefer Torah despite the fact that there are slight differences. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 11 or 22. I don't recall exactly, but there are differences between a Sephardi, an Ashkenazi, and a Yemenite Sefer Torah. Those are the three that I have seen over the years that have differences. The difference between a Sephardi and an Ashkenazi Sefer Torah is the word Pesu'a Daka. Daka is spelled amongst the Sephardim with an aleph, amongst the Ashkenazim with a hey. So you remember as a kid, we went to school. They told us that all the Sefer Torah, all the same, with the exception of that one letter. Happens to be it's a silent letter, the aleph and the hey with Sephardi. Now, when it comes to the Yemenite Sefer Torah, I remember there was like yuds and vavs, but also they were all silent letters. So for the most part, the kri, the way that we read the Sefer Torah, the sound has stayed the same, just as there's differences in silent letters. Just interesting. I noticed that over the years, and so he's saying that if someone read a Temani, he's okay. You know, as a side note, I prayed in the Yemenite Minyan. If you could even understand what they're saying, then you're Yotzef, because they have a completely different way to read. The way they read the Sefer Torah is they read the Targum in the Aliyah. So they'll actually have a guy up there reading the Targum Unkelus while they're reading the Sefer Torah. It's interesting. Yeah, and he's facing the Kahal. Out loud. So he'll read one pasuk and then he'll read the Sefer Torah reading is like an hour.
Because they used to speak Aramaic, some people probably didn't understand.
Yeah, and they had that custom. It's like a beautiful custom to observe one time, but it was very it was strange and long, for the most part. But that's beautiful custom. Preferably, one should not appoint a Baal Koreh who is under the age of Bar Mitzvah. However, if there is no one else available who knows how to read the parasha properly, then even a minor may serve as the Baal Koreh. Yeah, let's say you should preferably have someone Bar Mitzvah, but if for whatever reason, this sometimes can happen when people go on vacation. They go to these hotels, and they don't have someone that knows the entire parasha. Sometimes it's a younger kid or someone. So it happens.
Power if you can do it.
Yeah, during the Keriat Hatorah, the custom of Sfaradim is to remain seated. Some Ashkenazi communities, however, stand throughout the Keriat Hatorah. If a Sfaradi is praying in a minyan that has a custom to stand during Keriat Hatorah, then he should stand along with them. So that he's not standing out. And this is brought down in the Shulchan Aruch 146-4. So the proper custom, there is by Sfaradim it's not, by Ashkenazim it is. Some communities have the custom to stand during the recitation of the Aseret HaDibrot. One should not follow this custom. I'll read you the footnote now. Especially if the rabbis of the community are sitting, and one will appear haughty by standing in front of them. However, one may stand to honor his father or rabbi who's called to the Torah for the Aliyah of the Aseret HaDibrot. If one is praying with a minyan in which everyone is standing, he should stand from the beginning of the Aliyah so as to avoid showing preference to the Aseret Hadibrot. What usually happens, at least here in Syrian shuls in the community here, I've noticed that usually the rabbi, the shul, gets that aliyah, so everyone will stand up for the aliyah from the beginning of the aliyah. But he's saying here that a person should not stand specifically for Aseret Hadibrot. You shouldn't show that specific preference. Let's take a look what he has here on his notes. The Rambam, Teshuvot, Siman 46, and the Rambam and Orchot, Siman 263, state that one should not stand up for the Aseret Hadibrot since it encourages heretics to think that the Aseret Hadibrot are greater than the rest of Torah, when in reality, every word of Torah is equally important. Some poskim say that this is no longer applicable for several reasons. First, as Yaskil Avdi 7-1 and Tzitz Eliezer 17-26 say, since the Rambam did not record this halacha in Mishneh Torah, we may assume that it was not a conclusive halachic decision. Additionally, Rab Shalom Mesas in Shemesh Umagen, who's a Moroccan rabbi, points out that nowadays it is rare to find heretics who would come to such conclusions. You know, I don't think heretics would even come to shul today. I don't, just as a side note. So here, they're coming to shul, if someone stands up, Aseret Hadibrot, I don't think people wouldn't even notice that the guy stood up. People in their own world today. See also Yechaveh Da'at, Chazan 3-13. Thirdly, some poskim say that the Rambam was only referring to the annual readings of Parashat Yitro and Va'et Hanan, when the Aseret Hadibrot are not read with a special tune. On Shavuot, though, when we read the Aseret Hadibrot with a special tune, we try to reenact the feeling of when the Torah was given on Har Sinai, and we stand during the Aseret Hadibrot just as Bnei Israel did. However, furthermore, some add that we should not discontinue this age-old custom because of heretics. He brings here Hilchot Chag B'Chag Minhagei Shavuot, which also state this conclusion. He brings down from Halichot Shelamot Tefillah and Mishneh Halachot and Orchot Rabbeinu, which point out that the custom is to stand during the recitation of the Aseret Hadibrot. So some had even a different opinion that you do stand during the Aseret Hadibrot. Hacham Ovadia Yosef, on the other hand, writes in Yabia Omer 8-15 and Yechaveh Da'at, volume 1-29, and Chazon Ovadia Yom Tov, page 14, that the Rambam's words still apply today for several reasons. First, the Rambam's omission of this halakha in Mishneh Torah does not necessarily indicate that it is not conclusive. Second, such heretics are still common, such as many in the Reform movement who believe that the Aseret Hadibrot have more significance than the rest of Torah. So Chamadia is like, what are you talking about? Yeah, there still are heretics, but they have their own congregation. They may not be they may not be in your congregation where they're coming to your shul, but believe me, there's plenty of them out there. Therefore, he says, one should refrain from standing during the Aseret Hadibrot. See also Yalkut Yosef Shabbat, volume 1, book 4, pages 363 and 621. So here you have it, that one should refrain from Aseret Hadibrot. The way we avoid this is by putting the rabbi up for that aliyah. That's how usually I've seen it be avoided, or if someone's father went up, then it would be different. It is customary to stand throughout the entire reading of the aliyah when one's father or rabbi is receiving an aliyah. Some people even have a custom to stand for an older brother or father-in-law. Father-in-law, I've seen always people did it as out of honor, like their own father. Definitely for older brother. I've even seen it obviously for uncles from the father's side, from the mother's side. It's kavod, you're giving kavod to family. You never lose out from that. See Sefer the Kapahim Palachi and the David Emet, which is the Hida, and the Chesed Alafim, states that even if one's father does not mind if his sons remain seated while he gets an aliyah, one should nevertheless stand, since onlookers do not know that one's father forgave his honor, and it is perceived as if one is dishonoring his father. So let's say God's father says, all right, listen, son, it's not a big deal. You can take a seat. You still shouldn't do it because everyone's watching. Everyone's going to see that. One may not leave the synagogue while the Torah is being read. From the Baal Koreh, if one has a need to do so, he should only leave in between aliyot, if he has to go to the restroom or if he has to go outside. Shulchan Aruch 146-1, and Halacha Berurah, who states that even if there are 10 people remaining in the synagogue, one may not leave once the Torah is opened. Even one who already heard the Keriat Torah may not leave the synagogue once the Torah has been opened and should wait to leave in between aliyot. So even if someone was in an early minyan, he heard the Torah, he's hearing it a second time, you still have to wait in between the aliyot. When the Torah is being read, one should focus on the Torah reading and follow along quietly. One may not even speak about Torah topics during this time. However, one who has trouble hearing and cannot hear the Torah reading may learn other topics quietly while the Torah is being read. And he brings here Shulchan Aruch 146-2. Obviously, not speaking during the readings, also not speaking in between the aliyot, or like the Tosfot Yom Tov brings down, not speaking at all from the beginning of the tefillah until after Alinu L'Shabeach. All right, we'll end it here. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.